My name is Lyle Benjamin. Welcome. I'm the founder and executive director of Planned Acts and One Planet, One People. And today we're going to be going over in depth a little bit about how our programs operate and our internship mentorship program and what that means to you, okay, as well as what we expect from people who are in the program. So what I'd like to do initially is to have you each introduce yourself, say what your name is, say what school you attend or what you attended, and what your field of study is. And then I will probably ask some questions and give you some comments as well. So who would like to go first?
I can.
Okay, Raya?
Ria.
Yeah, okay.
I'm Ria. I go to the University of Michigan. I'm a junior and I'm studying psychology.
Okay. And all of our programs are based in psychology and sociology. Okay, so
Awesome.
have you all had a chance to go to our website and look at the internship section? Great. Okay, we have a very good crowd today. Okay, excellent. And let's see, you're going to learn about our programs. And what happens is I'm going to share a lot about the programs, and I'm going to go very quickly once I do that. And then what I want you to do as I do this is see if anything really resonates in you, okay, in terms of what you would like to work on. Everyone who comes into the program will have two major projects that they work on and a minor project, okay? And we will meet independently after you've gone through some startup steps, and then we're going to go into your background in depth. And then we're going to create a custom internship for you based upon your interests and your background, as well as your objectives. Okay, so make sense?
Yeah.
Okay, cool. Okay, so it's Ria, correct?
Yes, it is.
Okay, I'm dyslexic, so if I see something that's written
No
down
problem.
and it's pronounced, right, it screws me up for like years. So I'll try to remember, but if I say it incorrectly, you correct me in the future. Okay, so you pick the next person, right, who's going to introduce.
All right. Luke, why don't you go ahead?
Okay. Hi, my name is Luke. I earned my degree in communication with a minor in political science from the University of Washington.
Okay, and what are you doing now?
I'm still looking for work, so I've been able to continue doing what I was doing in college, which is a chauffeur.
Oh, okay. So, and what do you hope to do career-wise?
I'm casting a wide net right now, but I am most interested in political communication. So,
Okay.
yeah.
Now we're getting somewhere. Okay. So you'll have ample opportunity to see and participate in this area based on programs that we have. Okay.
Excellent.
And the goal for all of you is we're going to expand not only your skill set by giving you real world experience, which school unfortunately doesn't do, but we're going to add in the 8 foundation disciplines. Anyone recall a little bit about what those are? Okay, that's the skills that you really need to have if you want to go ahead and move from a worker mentality, which is how school goes ahead and teaches us, into management and leadership positions. And the disciplines are communication, business, marketing, management, office, research and technology, time management, problem solving and time management. Okay, and that's what you're going to bring to bear on an interdisciplinary approach to doing your work. Okay, and I'll get into a lot more about that as we go along. So Luke, you get to pick the next person up. I wonder who that's going to be.
Yeah, I picked Julia.
Oh, Julia,
Hi.
what a surprise.
I'm Julia. I'm a junior at Ithaca College studying applied psychology and business administration.
Okay, cool. So business administration, what we do in terms of developing systems is way beyond what they teach when you get your MBA. And what also makes systems work are procedures. And one of the most difficult things that companies have is to get employees to follow procedures. So we have procedures that govern how you do your work remotely. Okay, because ordinarily some of these things wouldn't come into play if you were in our office in New York, where we normally would have 25 interns, right, over the summer and X number during other semesters. But we are in a different world right now. And there are things that you'll have to follow if you want to be successful, not only in our program, but in your career as well. So, for instance, and you guys are doing a really wonderful job on this, okay? Zoom is a replacement medium for live in-person meetings. And if you were in a live in-person meeting and someone was sharing, your supervisor or a coworker or the boss or a client, you would have to be engaged in what they were saying in a nonverbal way. Is that correct? Because what you don't want to do during an in-person meeting is be like this during the entire meeting. Because what's the other person who's present, who's speaking, going to think about your behavior? We got a bunch of psychologists here, so, right, they should have a field day with this one. Right, you can unmute and speak. This is a interactive session.
Comes off kind of disrespectful and dismissive.
And not interested in what's going on, not engaged, okay? And if you want to be management and leadership, that's not the impression that you want to be giving to management, leadership, clients. So you have to be aware of how your appearance is during meetings. And Zoom, it's especially true. So you're going to get feedback in this program on everything that you do that relates to your personal development, because that will determine how successful you're going to be in your career. If you want to be a worker, then you don't really have to worry about things like this. And if you want to be a worker, right, then actually this program isn't for you. Okay, so you're going to get feedback that you never have gotten in your 12, 16, right, years of education. And it's not only going to be on the work that you're doing, because in school, what happens is you're given assignments, you do tasks, you turn those in, you get a grade, and you get a few comments. That's not how this program works. Here, you're going to learn how to do objectives. You're going to have to outline what that objective is. You're going to have to outline the steps that you're going to take to achieve that objective. And we're not going to tell you those. You're going to have to use the 8 foundation skills, the disciplines, in order to determine what the objectives are, not your own experience, because you don't have the experience to do it to the level that we require. We don't do things for 80% of the population, 90% of the population, who's going to look at the work and say, oh yeah, that's good, because they're not applying any type of critical thinking to it. They don't know enough about it. They don't take the time, whatever. Okay, we do it for the literally the 1 to 2%, the CEOs, the C-suites, the founders, right? The heads of departments and government agencies who can look at the work and in 30 seconds know the level that we bring to the table, and whether they want to go ahead and consider, right, continuing the conversation, let alone working with us. The learning takes place from the meetings that you have and the feedback that you get on your work. So when you do your work and turn it in, you might have to revise it 2, 3, 4, 5 times. Yes, we've had people revise their work 5 times or more. Okay, but that's where the learning is going to take place. And you're going to be able to see where you started and where you ended up with what you were working on. So you can reflect back on, wow, really? That was me? Oh my goodness. Okay. But everything that you're doing here is going to be used in the real world. Think back on all the classes you've had in middle school, high school. You don't have to think of them consecutively if you don't want to. In middle school and high school, all the assignments that you've done in college, have any of them had an impact in the real world? No. Isn't that amazing? You go to school for 12, 16 years, and of the thousands of assignments you've done, none of them had an impact in the real world? I don't know about you. To me, that's not a great educational system. So we act as the bridge, not only to giving you real world experience, but to show you how you can make an impact and to expand your belief in what you can do in the real world. Because when I ask my students, how many people do you want to reach? How many people do you want to impact with what you're doing? They give me these numbers. And frankly, right, it would be no different if they serve food at a food pantry. That makes yourself feel good. It doesn't really impact a lot of people in a meaningful way. We're talking about being disruptive and doing behavioral change in tens of thousands of people, in hundreds of thousands, in millions of people. And when you're successful at what you're doing, we're going to acknowledge it. You might be working on one of our books. Your name will go into the book. You might accomplish one of our crazy ambitious activities programs, and we're going to interview you and put your picture and your name and your accomplishments in a book that you can use for the rest of your life as an achievement that you've gained. You might decide that you really like what we're doing. And because you've been through the program and you understand our culture and our procedures and how we operate, you might be someone that we want to bring on and hire in the future as we expand, because we're expanding as of this month. So there are a lot of options for you through our program. But what you're really going to do, and the way that our system works, is when you have objectives to do, you're going to outline those objectives. You're going to present it. You're going to have to research everything that you do. You're going to have to analyze the information that comes back. You're going to have to synthesize that information. You're then going to have to outline it again properly, present it, communicate it. You're going to have to understand the business objectives of what we're doing, as well as the marketing objectives, even though we're an MPO. Okay. You're going to have to problem solve to achieve your objectives, and you're going to have to use proper time management. because what you do in school has nothing to do with the real world. So when I ask my students, how long is it going to take you to do this? And they come back with, oh, I'll have it done in 5 days. I'll have it done by next week. Yeah, that's not acceptable, because it has no basis on the actual time it takes to do the work. And if we move forward with that schedule, 3 months would go by and you're still at the planning stage. So when we break it down, it might turn out to be that particular task or that particular objective might have taken them 4 hours to do. And they should be turning it in at the same day that they started it and getting feedback on it. And that has a built-in factor of, hey, you had to learn how to do it in the first place. They have to know that if you're a professional in the field and you're given an assignment like that, or you have that as something that you need to do, it might only take you 1 hour and 15 minutes to do. Because you have to understand, right, how companies work. And the thing is that they have budgeted dollars versus your time, versus what you're going to accomplish. And even if you did your work tremendously well, if it takes you twice as long to do it, what do you think is going to happen? The company is going to come to you and say, hey, we really love your work, but you got to speed it up. Okay, significantly. And if you don't, then what's going to happen? They're going to say, we really love your work, but we can't afford to pay you twice as much as we have budgeted. And they're going to replace you. So time management is an important aspect to the work that you're doing. Okay, so everyone understand a little bit about how we operate, at least in terms of the larger parameters, okay, and what you get out of it. This will help you not only tremendously throughout your career, but actually on a personal level also, because the skills that you learn and develop will help you on a lot of decisions that you'll have to do in your life, okay, and how to come out with the best objectives, best outcomes. Also, regardless of how good a communicator you are, this will improve your communication skills. Warren Buffett, right, rather famous individual, said in 2019, if you want to increase your income by 50% over your career, the #1 skill you have to have is communication across the board, regardless of your discipline. He didn't say that last part. I just added that, okay, for clarification. Okay, so, right, we focus on that because one of the things that we see is students don't know how to be specific with what they're relating. And you're going to have to get real specific with how you communicate. And very often, the work that we're going to have you do is going to have some quantifiable aspect to it. And you need to get specific on that as well, okay, in terms of how you track and everything else. Okay, so in terms of what you're actually going to be doing and the programs you're going to be working on, like I said, we're going to have another conversation about that. But what I'm going to do right now is share screen and present a whole bunch of information. So don't worry about being confused. Don't worry about being overwhelmed. Okay? The only thing that we ask is don't make assumptions about what you think applies to, right, the real world or our programs. When I go into meetings with other founders and CEOs of companies and organizations, I make no assumptions about what the outcomes are going to be. And the way that we approach everything is, how do we collaborate? And what's your objective? Okay. And matter of fact, I'll flip those, right? What's your objective and how do we collaborate on making it happen? Okay. So we don't go in, and we don't want you to go in to scenarios, to situations where you think you know what the outcome is and everything else, because that's going to limit how you deal with those situations. Okay, so without further ado, now what I'm sharing is some of the design pages that are in a book that is coming out actually at the end of this month, beginning of next month. And it's a guide to our organizational programs. So what you're seeing are the design pages in the book, sans, right, explanatory information. Okay. Okay, so everyone can see this fairly well? Okay, good. So this is actually the cover of the one book. I won't go into a whole bunch of other stuff. It just says this on the cover. On the back cover, that actually looks like a front cover and explains a lot more. Okay, but we want people to actually be holding the book. And then when they hold it up, what happens? Right? The people on the other side get to read what the front, what really looks like a front cover, so they understand what's going on with the book. When the book is lying on a table and you just see one, the fight for survival of the human race, you're going to look at it and say, what the heck is that? And you're going to pick it up. So psychology is not only limited to the programs that we do, I use a lot of it in how I create, our engagement. Okay. And that said, you will have input into things that we might be doing in order to foster that outreach and engagement and inspiration. Okay. So this is really a guide to how people can get involved in the book, and there's different paths that people can take. And then there's background information on the organization. There's actually a constitution that governs what we do. Okay, and it's the Karma Constitution. The one book is, like I said, the guide to all of these programs, but everything we do is fully aligned with the United Nations 17 Sustainable Development Goals. Anyone know about those? A little bit? Heard about them? No. Okay. Well, you will know about them. Okay, because right, and so will a lot more people if it's up to us, because this is what is going to make the change in the world that we need to have happen to provide quality of life for people. So our programs are based on collaboration between people, institutions, and countries, and built on the principles of civility, equality, education, action, inclusion, and sustainability. In other words, quality of life for all. And this decade is going to be the turning point for humanity on quality of life because of the tipping points. Okay. Now, think about that. Let me know. Do you agree with that statement or not?
I definitely agree. I think there's a lot at stake, especially in the current state of the world. There's a lot that can be done if we choose to do it. So definitely.
Okay. See, this is where we want people to start thinking about things rather than just reading them and not thinking. Because most people just read and absorb and do nothing. Okay. I went to law school because I wanted to help people. Because when I was growing up, I had a difficult childhood. People helped me. I knew I couldn't repay them directly. So I figured, okay, I'll go into a profession about helping people. So I was kind of naive when I went to law school. It wasn't about that. But, you know, I took contracts. I didn't learn to write a contract till I was out of law school. That's not a good educational system. But then also, when I did my internship, I grew up in Florida, went to University of Florida for undergraduate and law school. And my internship was with the Attorney General's office in Albany in the Litigation Bureau, one of the best positions in the entire country because New York, right, leads the country. Okay. And I wrote memorandums of law on public health and other issues. They liked what I did and they offered me a job. And I said, wow, you know, I'm flattered, which I was, but I turned it down because I felt like I was a hired gun. I felt like, right, I knew that there were other ways that these situations could be handled more effectively at less cost to all the parties involved, but that wasn't what I was hired to do. So the thing is, we have to have other solutions to solving things than what we've done in the past. And the methodology that we've used in the past is actually a fractional approach to solving global issues. And what we've seen with the pandemic is it doesn't work. And it hasn't worked on any of the other issues also. And it's not going to work in the future. So the time for division is over. We have to collaborate if we want to succeed. We might have to collaborate if we really want to survive as well, with at least quality of life, because it's already starting to affect millions and tens of millions of people around the world. We're seeing it in the United States with weather conditions that have progressively gotten worse over the last few years. We're seeing it in places like India, right, with pollution, right, with heat waves, right, with water quality. Okay, it's around the world. And we've got to go ahead and push back. So what we've done is we've developed collaboration cycles and actually collaboration think tanks. And on the right-hand page, the way it works is we work with 5 different types of institutions. Everything from educational to faith-based to NPO, NGOs. NGOs, if you don't know what they are, right? Ask Luke, he's in political science, he should know this, right? It's non-governmental organization, okay? 2 government agencies and corporations. And they come into the think tank, they choose what area of the STG they want to be aligned with. We break them into teams. We then have meetings. And what do we always do? We start with objectives. What do we need to accomplish? What are the problems associated with accomplishing it? What are the solutions? And this is where it's different. Our solutions come from 3 sources: the scientific realm, business, and academic. And then with the solutions, they must have action steps that individuals can take, as well as the institutions themselves. So we work from the grassroots up with 5 types of individuals, students, employees, owners, retirees, and the unemployed. And we work with the institutions that I mentioned before from the top down. But we also have to have the delivery systems to get this information out to as wide an audience as possible. So if all we did was publish books or have courses, we would not reach hundreds of millions of people who aren't interested in that. So we have to have delivery systems that goes into major areas of people's interests in order to do outreach, engagement, inspiration, education, inspiration, and action. And conversely, you can't go ahead and tackle one area and say, that's it. Because even if you solve a problem like homelessness in a particular area geographically, whether it's in Africa, whether it's in South Florida, Miami, okay, with a huge homeless population, New York. What happens if one of the other tipping points comes along and wipes out your infrastructure? Wipes out your supply chain, wipes out your customer, whatever it is, okay? And that's what's going to happen more and more frequently 5 to 7 to 8 to 10 years from now. And it's happening today. You just might not know about it because you're in school and you're doing other things, okay? But there's, right, the cost of cars has gone up tremendously because there's a supply chain problem with computer chips. Part of it is through the climate change, part of it's through the pandemic. Inflation, cost of groceries has escalated in the last year. Same causes. So we have to start collaborating. And one of the things that we do is we take areas and we call them collaboration impact areas. So if we apply our programs to the US prison system, this is what we want to change. And this has bearing for all three of you based upon your backgrounds and possible interests. And Luke, this is a program that we're going to every member of Congress with. Every senator, every representative, every governor, mayors of major cities, superintendents of prisons, as well as wardens. And this might be a project that you want to step up and work on. So when we do our research, what we do is we compile a lot of data. And then I analyze the data and come up with information that I want to repackage and represent in order to do, right, engagement. So what I found is United States is #1 in the world in prison population with almost 2.2 million people. What are the two largest countries in the world? Right? Ria might know one of them.
India and China.
Ah, there you go. Okay, and what's the combined population? It's almost 3 billion people. We have more prisoners in the United States than India and China combined, yet our population is just over 10%. We spend $1.2 trillion annually on incarceration costs for those 2.2 million people. You know how many people are on Medicare and Medicaid, the two major health systems in the country? Oh, like 30% of the US population, okay? Tens of millions, 70 million people, something like this. You know what the cost is? $1.4 trillion. Anyone see an imbalance here? So our plan is to take our programs and put them into schools starting as early as 4 years old with our planned acts of kindness, teaching civility and kindness, and not only going ahead and doing that, but actually when people are involved in that type of program, not only does it help you build quality relationships, it also can give you a better sense of community, stronger ties to community. Those are the keys to living a happier, healthier life, but also those are the things that can help inoculate you from abuses that you might encounter during life, because you now have a solid foundation and support system. They can also prevent you from developing antisocial behavior yourself. Things like racism, right? You know, gender bias, right? Religious intolerance. Those are things that we're not born with. Those are things that people learn and adopt. And this program can actually act as preventative for those occurring. And then we have programs that go into the home, into the school, into faith-based, into NPO, NGOs, into government agencies, and into businesses. So we have actually a series of programs that people can engage in through all stages of their life. And what this will do is it will reduce the number of people going into the prison system in the first place. For every 100,000 people we stop from going into the prison system, right, it saves, right, taxpayers billions of dollars. Yet it actually increases tax revenue because now these people are working. And when we put these programs into the prison system itself, it's going to affect the number of people going back into prison, because literally 83% of the people who get out go back in. And the training programs that are currently being offered don't give people what they need to develop the mores that they have to be functional members of society. Am I speaking either of your languages so far? Okay. So we have programs that can go into the prison system and start educating, re-educating people, so that when they get out, they won't go back in. So the sum of these programs are a reduction in people entering, returning to prison, lower governmental expenditures, higher tax revenue, improved population health and well-being, safer communities, stronger families, lower death and suicide rates. And there's a whole collateral system of benefits, including reduction in gun violence, reduction in racism, reduction in, right, you know, gender abuse. Okay. So you're starting to see real world application. Okay. And then we have, in conjunction with the collaboration think tank, we also have how people who are professionals can go ahead and volunteer around the world as support to make these things happen. So they come in, they choose what path they want to be in, and then they get to work and team up and then make things happen. We also have ways for ordinary people to go ahead and get involved and be the hero. Okay. And if companies think that they're not going to be affected because they're too small, too large, where it's not going to happen, the data that we've put together says otherwise. So we've taken 20 years of data, analyzed it, shown that there's a tremendous upswing in the last few years, and that's continuing today. So 5 years from now, you might not have a business that you thought you would. And you might not have jobs that you thought you would as well, because of what's going on in the world. So this is why we have to go ahead and work together. This goes into the one book. This goes into a deeper dive into how people can go ahead and get involved and be the hero. So no matter who you are, you're more connected, more powerful than you might think. And what we ask you to do is share the one book or specific programs with your community. And you don't have to explain the programs. That's what we do. But when they collaborate, you're the hero. So we just had a professional volunteer come in who wants to work on bringing our EQL program into schools for young children. That's our Education for Quality of Life. That's the planned acts of kindness, right? Where every day people wake up and there's a new planned act that they can do with their friends, family, coworkers in their community. We just apply it to younger children. Okay. And in here, what I did was I copied all the information from schools, and then I gave it to her so that she can see how she can expand her outreach and engagement. Because people are thinking, when I asked you, right, how are you going to go ahead and achieve your objective? You're going to give me an outline. And your outline may not consider nearly all the things that you need to in order to achieve it optimally. It may be limited by your experience. It might be limited by how you research. Okay, so we want to expand both of those so that you consider what you need to. So here, I did the work for you. Okay, because I'm not going to go ahead and mentor every person who comes into, right, our program. So yeah, that's a cheat sheet. This is kind of like a bulletin board that's actually in the book. And what it does is it looks at the information a different way. Hey, you might be a social media wizard, or you think you are, okay? So how can you go ahead and get involved in any of these platforms with what we're doing? You might be interested in the business side. You might be interested in meeting planning, okay? You might be interested in sports, in athletics. You might be interested in cooking. You might be interested in teaching or education. And then also there's a bucket list for companies in terms of, right, things that we're looking for. Okay, this is the Karma Club. This forms the basis of what we do. And I'm just going to switch real quick, if I can, to something else, which is 100% psychologically based, which is our Project Cope, which uses the Karma Club as its foundation. So everyone know a little bit about the Karma Club. There are 4 different achievements, activities that you can do during the course of the month. You do your daily planned acts, you do engagement, you do volunteerism, no matter where you're in the world with other people, and you do support. When you do those to certain levels of achievement, you actually level up, and then you're eligible for gifts, right, that we give away. Our goal in 2022 is to be in all 200 countries with the Karma Club, giving away hundreds of gifts daily to random people who have leveled up. So it's a acknowledgement and rewards program based upon doing good. And it's a behavioral change program. Get people to change their behavior by doing acknowledgement and rewards. Okay, now Project Hope uses, right, the Planned Acts of Kindness platform, and it's a health, happiness, and wellness program. What happens is people come in, they take an assessment, and then that gives them a health, happiness, and wellness score. This is set up exactly like a clinical trial from pharmaceuticals. The person who I brought in to be, right, my let's say, project manager on this in terms of going through what I had set up, gets paid hundreds of thousands of dollars by Pfizer and Johnson & Johnson to set up and run clinical trials. And she absolutely loves this program, but was laughing when she first found out and read about it from what I had done. Because she said, you developed this on your own for a nonprofit. I get paid hundreds of thousands of dollars to do the same thing. But your program's better, but don't tell anybody. Because we don't use pharmaceuticals and this is preventative. Okay. So the thing is, people take an assessment that gives them their baseline score. They then do the activities in the Karma Club. Every 2 weeks, they retake the assessment. And every month, it gives them, right, how many activities did they do in the planned acts of kindness and what their health, happiness, and wellness score changed from their baseline. The more you do, the greater your rewards. This is quantifiable. Okay, it's designed to improve health, happiness, and wellness by changing behavior, improving relationships, and sense of community. And this program can go into schools for students. It can go into nonprofits. It can go into HR for businesses, for government. Okay, and you might be working on that. And then this goes into objective methodology. It goes into recruiting and logistics for it, analytics, right? What the assessments are. Because I read the psychological assessments on happiness, they were BS. No, okay, but they've been used, right, for 20, 30 years. So I redid them when I did this. My background is, right, like, you know, I went to law school, but before that, right, my major was English, literary analysis, not just literary criticism. It wasn't just English lit, it was a specialization where you had to read works of literature that had been read for hundreds of years, you had to analyze them, and then you had to write about it. So your analytical skills had to be kind of off the charts, your writing skills had to be off the charts. Not a lot of people are doing it because it's a pain in the butt, unless you really enjoy it, like I do. And then after law school, I had a printing and design company where I created a prototype for a national newsstand magazine that was based on psychology. And it was the first national newsstand magazine exclusively devoted to helping people get the most out of all their relationships, intimate, family, friendship, and work. And it was based on communication. And it was very well received by the psychological community, readership, but it's very expensive to do magazines. I've done best-selling relationship board games. I've done books, I've done startup companies, and I gave it all up to do my nonprofits because, yeah, we don't have a choice. Okay, so anyway, this gets into it. You'll get a copy of this if you're working on it, obviously, and you'll learn a lot about how, whoops. Okay, on how that can work. Okay, so this is the Karma Club. I might have some people coming in for another meeting at 1. So this is our EQO program for Education for Quality of Life. This is our club program where people can come into our clubs based on their interests. They get to work on real world programs and they get to see how having a support system can make a huge difference in their life. With the clubs, there's magazines and video programs where we highlight what people do so that they can really be inspiration to other people. Our internship mentorship program, the one that you'll be in, uses the 8 foundation skills. And we deal in over 30 different disciplines, and there's a whole bunch of benefits that you get out of that. We also have financial literacy and planning. I've written a book on it. We also are developing a course on it that's more formalized. We have benefit plans that go into companies and organizations designed to be better than what they have because, frankly, what they have doesn't really help people that much. We've teamed up with a an award-winning architecture company out of Asia that actually did the headquarters for Microsoft in Shanghai. And we've developed a home office workspace program, but also really a work-life balance program, utilizing our quality of life programs as corporate social responsibility that's not directed towards stakeholders and shareholders, but actually towards employees as well as their families. So, right, a lot of HR has to do with psychology, okay, depending on what level you're at, okay? And you might be working with developing the relationships, right, with companies through their HR departments and then providing programs and then monitoring the programs. There's a lot of flexibility, okay? This is about sustainability and what we do. This is our book program, and you might be working on a book. In February 24th, 2020, I was at the United Nations and I presented doing a mental health book in collaboration with the UN. They loved it, agreed to do it, and then 2 weeks later, the UN was shut down. In March of 2020, I was supposed to present to the Excel conference for the Wesleyan Church to 109 churches because the church agreed to do a book on family issues, everything from substance abuse to domestic violence to income inequality that would help families. The conference never happened because of COVID. So you might be working on one of the books where you work to get the experts that are featured in the book. Each book presents 16 problems, 2 experts that say what and why we need to do to correct it. And then the books also form the basis of One Planet, One People workshops. People get together, they read out loud the problem scenario, what the experts say we need to do, and then they have a discussion group about the issues. Over 8 to 12 weeks, they can form into smaller groups and decide to take action on a local, national, or global scale. We're talking about producing 100,000 copies of a sponsored book, 20,000 copies of a fundraiser book for an organization or a partnership book. And you might be working on books that correspond to your interests. Serum is social institutional reform. We produce a series of 31 videos, 1 for each day, that go into the 4 pillars of One Planet, One People: civility, social responsibility, volunteerism, global citizenship. Then we drill down during the week into the institutions, including governments, about how they handle global citizenship. And drilling down even further, how do you handle that on a racial, religious, gender equality basis through panel discussions? You might be working on that, which is contacting experts, getting them in, right, as panelists. There's a lot of different variety that you can do. This is a book that I've written, and these are all coming out in the first quarter, by the way, because now we're launching after being delayed because of COVID for 2 years. And this book helps keep the joy and happiness of a lost loved one alive for yourself, your family, and future generations. And we've pledged to give away a free book to every family in the world that lost a loved one due to COVID-19. And companies and organizations can sponsor and brand the book and then give that away to their shareholders and stakeholders. We have campaigns that we're doing, the Kindness Civility campaign. I hereby make a pact to treat others with respect and kindness and to go through life from this day forward, acting towards others as I would wish to be treated myself. This is Lyle Benjamin for Planned Acts, right, in New York City. And you can do this in whatever language you speak. The goal is to have people in all 200 countries, to have tens of thousands, right? Hundreds of thousands of people doing this. And pizza companies put this on their pizza boxes and deliver it into households, into millions. And it's a multi-year campaign. And what it shows is you can go into our app, you can watch videos from all parts of the world having people say this pledge, because it doesn't matter what country you're from, doesn't matter what language you speak, we all want the same thing in life. And what is that? Respect and quality of life. So we're all one people, one planet. And you might be working on one of these as one of your projects. There's a lot more programs. If you don't have our app, there's a QR code behind me. Take out your phone, right? Scan it, put that onto your phone. It won't take up any memory. It's a new type of app. And you'll be able to explore through the nav bar at the bottom a lot of the programs. There's new programs that are going to be updated by the 1st of the month. Okay. And there's a lot more in here. Okay. As you can see. And you'll have the opportunity, you'll have the opportunity to learn about that, you know, where we're featured in the media, on television, on radio, in magazines, people when we were, before COVID-19, participating in our programs, who supports us, Google with a $10,000 a month advertising grant, Simon Property Group, largest property holder in the country with malls. The Peace Corps has vetted our programs and approved them and recommends them to their members and alumni. United Nations, our internship programs are approved by NYU, Harvard, MIT, Columbia, University of Pennsylvania, all the way out to schools in California, Florida, blah, blah, blah. Okay, so, right, how am I doing with time? I'm doing great. Okay, so that's the basis. Okay, I know it. I said it was a lot of information, correct? Okay, so what's going to happen as far as the next steps? Hey, Ben. All right, hi, Hina. Just give me a minute. I'm finishing up. Okay, so the next steps are you're going to go back to our website, Planned Acts, go to the internship section. There's getting started steps. You'll see a button there. Go through the getting started steps, and then that will take you to trainee steps. Okay, do the trainee steps. Once you've done those, I'm going to go ahead now and put my name and number in the chat. You can go ahead and text me and say, wow, I finished those. Okay, matter of fact, in the chat right now, you can put your name, your phone number, your contact information, what your school you attend, and what field of interest is. Might as well go ahead and add that now into the chat. But once you do that, and it might take you just a few hours to do, so you can do it the next day or so, whatever it is, you can then go ahead and set up your one-on-one with me, where we're going to go more into depth about what are the programs that you're going to be working on. Okay. And let's see, let me put this information in. Now, there are 4 characteristics that you need to have in order to be successful in our program. They are not skills. Okay, this is what confuses people. They think that they have to have skills to go ahead. You have to have understanding of what your field is. Yes. Okay, but you don't have the skills right now to do what we do on the level that we do. That's what you're here to learn, correct? Okay, so we look for characteristics. The first one is you've got to have a desire to go ahead and help people, not just go ahead and help yourself with your skill development. If this is all about you, you might not be a good fit for the organization. And I'll give you a reason why. Because let's say you've got something that you've got to finish up, it's 5 o'clock, and it'll take you about 10 more minutes to go ahead and do it. What do you do if you're a worker? You stop because your day is over. What do you do if you're committed to what you're doing? You finish it. Which do you think we want in our program? People who care about what they're doing. Okay? Because they know that they can move things forward quicker if they finish up what they're doing. So you've got to have desire. 2, you've got to have determination. Okay? Because here you're going to be told things that you've never heard in school about your performance. You've gotten, we all know how to be great students. We've learned how to be great students over 12, 16 years. But you don't know how to go ahead and put objectives first. You don't know how to use the collaboration skills to achieve your goals. And you don't know the level of analysis it takes to be successful at the level we're talking about. So you're going to get feedback and you're going to say, oh my goodness, right? They think I can't do anything right. Oh my God. That's the first I've heard of this. Because in school, they grade you on a very narrow slice, not based on really what the real world needs. So I get writing students, same major essentially that I did when I was an undergraduate, who got A's in all their classes. And then they write for us, or me, and they have to rewrite and rewrite. And they're like, but I get A's in all my classes. Why, well, what you're doing is you're writing like you're in school. And that's not acceptable in the real world. You've got to learn to write for your objectives. So it takes determination. You have to understand that the feedback that you get, it's not personal, other than we want you personally to be the best you can be. 3, you've got to have that willingness to learn. If you don't have that willingness to learn, right, and change your behavior, you're not going to be successful, because we're going to end up saying the same thing to you over and over again. And the way our programs work is, right, they build on what you accomplish. So if you never get past certain points, we're not going to give you more and more levels of complexity, because you won't be able to handle it. And 4th, everything you do, you have to take action on. This is not education for education. This is not you going to law school. Okay? So, right, we have to get it up to those standards. So who thinks they have those 4 characteristics? Desire, determination, willingness to learn, and you're going to take action on what you learn. Raise your hand. Okay, that's good enough for me. So how do you know whether you're accepted into the program? Anyone want to venture a guess?
After we contact you.
Because you've done the other steps. That shows you've got desire, determination, you're willing to learn, and you took action on it. Isn't that a beautiful system? You do what you're supposed to do, you're automatically in. Okay. That said, if you know other people that might be interested in what we do, how we do it, whatever, right? You're welcome to bring them in as well. And it doesn't have to be people that you're going to school with now. It can be from high school. It can be from work. It can be, right, your grandmother. I don't care. Okay. If she's like you, that's fine. Okay. So that said, you all know what you got to do. You all know your next steps, right? Any thoughts that you want to give to what you learned today about what we do, or what you might, how you might be aligned with it? Let's go ahead and hear a little bit. Make me happy. Okay, go ahead. Julia.
I think, within some sort of customizable internship, there's a way to move forward in all those different areas you were speaking about, especially in this decade. And yeah, I think there's room for positive change and a good learning experience on top of it.
Okay. So in other words, you want to make an impact.
Absolutely.
Okay. We'll see how big we can have you make an impact. That's the key. Okay, as well. Okay. Luke?
Yeah, just an interesting organization that sounds like they've got their foot in all the right places. So really interesting possible path.
Many possible paths, yes. And the thing is that we are the only MPO or NGO in the world that does what we do with the approach that we have. All the other MPOs, right, discriminate. And the reason why they do it is to compete for dollars. So meanwhile, you have a whole cadre of MPOs with the same objective in the same area, right? Helping people, right, escape from poverty. Do they work together? No. Why not? Because if you go to Columbia School of Nonprofit Management for your master's, you're going to be told, hey, you got to have one clear mission, you got to have one clear path, right? And you've got to stake out your territory. The reason is because you need to fundraise. You're in competition for dollars. So you think you can't collaborate. Yet meanwhile, that's going ahead and keeping more people at risk. So you're not really fulfilling your mission optimally. You're doing it based on dollars. And that's what's wrong in the world. Okay. Ria?
Yeah, I just think the type of work that is being done by this organization is really important, especially right now with everything going on. And on a personal level, I've always done well in highly motivated environments. And it sounds like you guys have really high expectations for us, which I think is a good challenge.
Okay, very good. Very good. Well, let's go ahead and make it a reality. Okay. So on that note, I look forward to speaking to you all. We'll go over procedures also. You'll have a handbook that you'll go through. There's a lot of different things that you'll learn. And regardless of when you're doing your internship, minimums for semesters are 15 hours a week. We're available 7 days a week. And we don't have office hours like 9 to 5. Okay. It's literally like 20 hours a day. So I'm always available to go ahead and, talk, meet on Zoom, answer questions, go ahead and help you be successful. Also, if you're summers are full-time, okay, we're still doing them remotely, even this summer, most likely. We're based in Manhattan. But if you're doing an internship that's further in the future, what we do is we have you do a preliminary initially. And that's where you put in 5 hours a week or so on a flex schedule. So you start to learn our policies, procedures. You have one project that you work on. So you start to have success on that project. So by the time you come in over the summer, not only do we have a place for you, but also you don't have to go through a huge learning curve that's going to stop you from being as successful as you want to be. You've already gotten all that under your belt. Okay? Okay, cool. So all good? All right, great. Look forward to speaking to you soon. You can sign off and text me. Make sure you got my number. And we'll talk quickly. Okay, hope to speak to you later this week, beginning of next week.
Thank you.
Okay,
Thank you.
take care. Ooh, and thank you,
Thank you.
Luke. Thank you. Luke did, right? Because I still have people here. I wasn't gonna, we have something called Smile and Wave. Okay, and that's actually a global program that we're introducing. And we're going to put it into school systems. We're going to put it into companies and into governments as well, where we want at least every meeting to end with a smile and a wave, if not begin that way, because we all have difficult lives and they've gotten a lot more difficult recently. So we don't always take care of ourselves. We don't always smile enough, right, for ourselves and the feelings that we need to go ahead and invoke. So this is our opportunity not only to go ahead and say thank you for the time that you spent with me, but we want to go ahead and pass on that good positive feeling to other people. And if we can do that at the end of meetings, then those people can turn around possibly and do it with more people themselves. This way we have a ripple, and that ripple can become waves. And if we have enough people doing this throughout the world, those waves can become tsunamis for change. And it all starts with a simple smile and wave. So we're going to work on getting this adopted by schools in classrooms, right? Hina is going to be working on that. Hina, you want to say hi?
Hi, everyone.
Okay, so Hina is one of our professional volunteers, okay? And she's going to be working on EQL and bringing that into the Oregon school system throughout the state. Okay, and Ben, you want to say hi? You want to say a little bit about what you do? Where you're from? What school you attend?
Sure. My name is Ben Wolf. I'm from St. Francis College. I'm a sophomore there, and currently I'm working on a project where we reach out to fraternities to go interview their alumni to address problems in the world.
And how we can also change their culture, okay,
Right.
and make it a little bit more positive, whether they're social, professional, or service organizations.
Mhm.
Great, thank you. So without further ado, right, because I'll keep talking. Okay, and I got other people I got to talk to. So we'll see you soon, right? Luke, you started it. Finish it. Smile and keep that wave up. Okay, take care. Okay, sorry about that. That ran a little bit over. Apologize. So how's everybody doing?
I'm doing good.
Good, good. Hina?
Yeah, I'm doing good too. Thank you.
Okay, cool. So actually there you missed their backgrounds. Two of the people, the ladies were in psychology, and the gentleman was in communication and political science,
Mhm.
and he's a graduate student. So, okay, cool. So let's see, Hina, let's go ahead and start with you. Okay. And the information that I gave you yesterday as a follow-up,
Mhm.
okay, the purpose of that is to really expand your mindset so you can say, oh my God, I had no idea. I can go into the PTOs, I can go into the trade union for schools, I can go into blah, blah, blah. And
Yeah, I
then,
understood. I
right,
understood the purpose. I understood the purpose, and really, I'm really thankful you gave me that information. Because yes, I had a limited information because my daughter just started elementary, and then but you gave me all information and all the possible areas I can go into. So but I need one help or
sure.
one guidance to start with. Like suppose I've just opened a school website. Okay, so I just want you to guide me how I how I contact them is the next step.
That's the
But
next step.
next step. So putting their information in the spreadsheet. So suppose this is a school, okay?
Right.
I've
So
just,
I can share a screen with you. So you can show me your screen if you'd like.
yeah, I'm sharing my screen.
Okay, good.
So let me see. Here is our Findlay. Yes. So suppose this is a website of the school, Findlay Elementary, okay? And this is the home page, okay?
Right.
So suppose this is a home page. Now what's the next step? You just,
Well, you see where it says staff at the top
yes.
right? So click on your staff at the top right. Nope, all the way over. All the way
I
over.
just clicked on that previously and now,
Try it again.
yeah.
That's families. Go all the way to your right. Where it
Oh,
says-
yes.
Okay. Now, absent management, student teams, absent management staff, employee online services, staff intranet. That doesn't look as promising.
Somewhere I just saw the staff and I was just going through the staff directory here. I think you are looking for this.
Yes, but the thing is that what you're doing is you're doing it on an individual basis, which is going to be tremendously time consuming. So what you want to do is you want to do it on a city statewide basis. And what you want to find is a directory, is a database of who are the principals of all the schools in Oregon dealing with secondary education or something like that. And then you want to find who they are, who the principal, what their email is, what their phone number is, what the URL is to their website. And then you want to copy that and transfer it into your spreadsheet. You do not want to do this on an individual basis, because by the time it takes you to do 20 of them, you would have had a list together of hundreds and possibly thousands, because you're doing it collectively, okay? And you can also look for all the superintendents of schools. So there are certain key people, principals, superintendents, that's in that list. And you want to search for those, a directory of those types of people, because they also might have directories themselves.
Correct.
So when we reach out to them, right, we say, hey, we'd like to go ahead and share this, right, with the people who are in your district or whatever the case may be, in your sphere. And then, okay, and then we work with them to have it happen. So whenever possible, we work from the top down. We work from the highest, right, to the smallest. But then also sometimes when you get an action person like yourself, then you work from the grassroots up.
Okay.
And you can build a team to help you with this.
Okay.
So that's where the personal connections come in, because what you want to do is you just want to share this with as many people as possible, because they might know people that can help you
Correct.
with your objectives. So it's a two-part thing. One part of the spreadsheet is your personal contact list. The other is the professional contact list from the research that you do. Once you start to populate that, then I'll provide you with the next step, which is the communication that you can use to outreach.
So for the directory, I need to search in a Google, right?
Yes. And the way you search is simply that. Like, let's go through a sample. Maybe I'll share screen. Okay. I'll do a search.
Okay.
Okay. So
Yeah, that will be more beneficial for us to learn how to do it, from learning from the expert.
well, This is what I do all the time in terms of different things. I always go ahead and research. I never, based upon my experience and whatever, do something completely cold. No matter how much I think I know, I still go in and research, and then I look at information, I analyze it, I synthesize, right? Whether it's methodology or things that I want to do or information, and then I incorporate it into what I'm doing.
Mhm.
That's how I'm able to work in so many different disciplines. Because
So
go
I
ahead.
have one quick question, Benjamin. When you are doing a research and you are getting so much data and you are getting so much knowledge, what are the tools you use to make a note or just to keep them aside, and how do you incorporate in something you already have? So can you
Okay.
share those tools with us?
Yeah, there's different things. First, for the database, okay, it depends on how their information is and how you capture it. Sometimes what works in one, one website doesn't work in another. So
Right.
sometimes what you're able to do is you look, do they have a download button where they download it into a spreadsheet?
Mhm,
Most of them won't have that.
mhm.
Most of them will give you a list on the screen, and then what you have to do is manually copy that and then see if you can paste it into a spreadsheet.
Spreadsheet.
Now, when you paste it into a spreadsheet, you don't want to paste it